Hey, third graders, it's Mrs. Seals back for our next science lab. So the past couple weeks, we have been talking about different processes or changes that happen on the earth. 2 weeks ago, we talked about a process called weathering, which hopefully you remember is a slow process where rocks are broken down and worn away. And we used the ramen noodles to represent rocks and showed the different ways they can be broken down or worn away. Then last week we started talking about rapid changes, which hopefully you remember are changes that happen quickly and can cause a lot of damage to the earth in a short amount of time. We named several, but we focused on volcanoes, earthquakes, and landslides. This week we're going to talk a little bit more about earthquakes. And then the activity today, um, is more of a challenge than, an experiment, but I'll explain it in a minute. It's really fun. So let's talk a little bit about earthquakes. Target says I can investigate rapid changes in the Earth's surface, such as earthquakes. So hopefully you remember from last week, an earthquake is the shaking of the earth that is caused by the release of energy stored in the crust of the earth. So remember that the earth is divided up into different layers, and the outside layer where we live is called the crust. And then remember that the crust is divided up into sections called plates. And as one plate moves, it causes the other nearby puzzle pieces to also move. Sometimes these plates get caught on one another and pressure builds up. An earthquake occurs when this pressure is suddenly released. So remember, we showed using the graham crackers that earthquakes are caused when two plates are pushing together and either one slips and goes on top of the other, and that causes the ground to shake, or them pushing against each other can cause them to kind of grind together. Okay. And then the ground shakes. Most earthquakes are too small to be felt. Remember, we talked about how earthquakes happen all over the world many times a day. We just usually cannot feel them. Earthquakes can cause a lot of damage to roads and buildings. Earthquakes can cause the land to move several meters, and an earthquake on the ocean floor can cause another rapid change called a tsunami, which is a fast-moving wave that can bring a large volume of water rushing on shore. And then we looked at these pictures of damage that has been caused to structures from earthquakes. And then we looked at this picture of flooding that was caused by a tsunami that was caused by an earthquake happening under the ocean floor. So today's challenge is to use toothpicks and marshmallows to create a structure that will survive a 15-second earthquake. Okay, and here's the earthquake. The earthquake is a pan of Jello. So you'll notice that as I shake this pan of Jello, the Jello is moving and shaking, similar to the way the earth would move and shake during an earthquake. So your challenge is to create a structure that you will set on the Jello that will survive when I shake it for 15 seconds. Okay, so the only rule to the challenge is that your structure has to be at least 3 stories. So let me explain what I mean by that. I've built a little simple one here to show you. A story is like a floor or a level of a building. So our school, Pershing Park, is a 1-story building. all of our classrooms and, everything at our school is on the bottom floor, is on the ground. We have one story. At our new school that we're moving into after Christmas break, that school is 2 stories, meaning we will have some classrooms on the bottom floor, but there will also be stairs because there will be a second floor where some classrooms are. Okay, so here's a 3-story structure. Down here, I have the first floor, the ground floor, then I have the second story. This is the third story. So your structure needs to be at least 3 stories high. It could be higher if you want, but at least 3. So not 1 and not 2. A little hint, a little tip, because I've seen this done before, is the simpler and the easier your structure is, the more likely it will survive. If you add lots and lots of marshmallows and sticks to your structure, what happens is it gets too heavy and it can't stand up. And if your structure is just sitting there and it can't even stand up, like it just collapses, then it's definitely not going to be able to survive a 15-second earthquake, Jello earthquake. Okay? So, the simpler the better. Also, the wider and sturdier your base is, the more support it's going to have, and that's also going to help it. Okay, so those are just some tips. If you would like to try this at home, I think that this is a simple activity that you could easily do. All you have to do is make a pan of Jello. I used 2 boxes of Jello for this size pan. Um, and then you need 2 cups of boiling water, 2 cups of cold water, put it in the refrigerator for about 4 hours. And then you just need toothpicks and marshmallows. If this is a challenge that you try at home, I would love to see the structure you come up with. I would love to see if your structure survives the earthquake. Feel free to send me a picture or a video or a message letting me know what you did or what you came up with and whether or not it worked. After this video, there is a short quiz on Schoology about earthquakes. I hope that you enjoyed learning more about earthquakes and hope that you enjoyed this STEM challenge. If you did it, I will talk to you guys next time. Bye-bye.